Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always,
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panayotis. Yasu, my brother, what is going on?
What is going on, my man? How are you tonight?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. Had a wonderful weekend. My wife, threw a big surprise birthday dinner for her, and surrounded by a lot of family members and whatnot. And I'm just saying kudos to everybody for keeping it a secret. One of the couples that came, they literally were on a walk with her. My wife, she goes on these walks now, these daily walks, and so they actually got together earlier in the day. And she didn't give anything away or whatever. So when she came, when we arrived at the dinner, she was definitely very flustered and very emotional about it. And but I was just so glad to see the look on her face and just the love that she received from everybody. It was just a really great, just a great night and occasion and whatnot. So I was really able to get her good in a good way, and so she really appreciated that. So it was a great. Certainly was a great night, and work with my daughters to really help to pull it off, and so everything went well, really well. So really appreciate that. But yeah, I want to certainly thank everybody for coming on tonight. Make sure when you come in, make sure you hit the like button as you come into the show. Also, hop on over to the Sparta HQ network and show some love over there as well. Growing a big network over there, and we definitely want to make sure that we appreciate those people. Shout out to Craig, who's been certainly a loyal watcher of the show, as well as he participates certainly on the Hangout show and a lot of the shows that we do on the Sparta HQ network. So so certainly, who's the old guy on the right? I'm not going there. But we also got Prince Ant. 72 is that Anton? See, so now we're taking names now. All right, so instead of Anton, it's Prince Ant 722. But we'll take you anyway, sir. Got to certainly look forward to having you on the show. And always, and look, we got another one, Marianne Constantine. She decided to change her name also. So M Constantine 6187. Everyone's going under code names. What's going on? Was there a raid or something? Everyone's going under code names now, so we got to be we got to recognize it. But yes, we know who you are, Mariana. Good that you be on the show tonight. And yeah, so definitely looking forward to this topic tonight. I do have to touch on one thing though. Hang on one second.
Oh boy.
So last night, Chef, if you hop on over to the Sparta HQ network, last night we talked about technology, old tech versus new tech, and I told people that I was a hoarder, all right, of technology. So I just want to show people how old I am, all right. So you guys remember these 5.25-inch floppy disks? Yeah, these are in my office, not my office. My wife kind of has the office right now, but a lot of stuff that I have from college, for some reason, I just haven't been able to part with it. So I got a whole container full of 5.25-inch floppy disks, from 1987. Well, this is from 1990. Okay, so this is kind of old. So this is kind of old stuff right here. And then, of course, I have my 3.5-inch discs. So again, my floppy disks. So I got boxes of floppy disks with games, all kinds of games that I used to play. This was a tennis game, Grand Slam for the Apple Macintosh computer back in the day, the Mac SE. So a lot of PC games and whatnot. So again, 3.5-inch discs, 5 and a floppy inch discs and whatnot. So again, I just, for whatever reason, a lot of my life was on these discs. And yes, you would lose them. Yes, they would go to bad or whatever. But a lot of stuff I just haven't been able to part with. I did a lot of desktop publishing, a lot of design work. My biggest regret is that I didn't have this stuff transcribed over to PDF, and it's harder to do that with the older technology. So I can get a 3.5-inch disc to read the disc, but I don't have the software or the process in order to play these or the programs in order to run these. So these are parts of my past. But again, I got a whole collection here. This whole box is just full of 3.5-inch floppies. And for some of the younger guys here, I also got zip. Remember the zip drive? So I got a lot of data on zip drives.
You're going way back now.
So yeah, so I go way back with a lot of this stuff. And but again, for some reason I just in my heart of hearts one day I'm gonna take it to somebody who knows how to uh transcribe and get stuff off the old discs onto some PDF, or I can just upload some stuff. Like I said, I did a lot of graphics work, a lot of desktop publishing, a lot of papers, college papers and things of that nature I used to do. And I just want to, be able to, just preserve that for as long as I can. I don't even know. I mean, these things are so old now. If I put them into a floppy drive, would they even work? Would they even run or be able to read it? Because, you got oxidation and all those things that kind of wear down a lot of media over time. But it's definitely been a minute that I've had these things. So, definitely, yes, like I said, you definitely, oh yes, if you have one of those, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, YouTube is showing the show names. I got you. Yes, old man, for sure, and wife school podcast. Peter has all his baby pictures on floppy.
Is this supposed to be an early birthday joke? Because in less than 5 days, it is my birthday. So
yes, he hits the big. He hits the big 4-0, the big 4-0, and so absolutely, absolutely. So just wanted to kind of go back in the past a little bit, just kind of show you guys, how far back I go. I may not look at least people tell me I don't necessarily look at, but yes, the zip drive. And then after the zip drive, then that's when you started coming out with DVD drives and DVD burners and, all kinds of things, that you can save stuff on. So, definitely there was an evolution, certainly in the 90s, of the technology to preserve your data that was safer. Again, because like I said, a floppy disk is called floppy for a reason. Stuff, doesn't is not meant to last very long, but I still have a lot of that stuff.
After the show ended, I was actually thinking about it through last night and a little bit and I realized early 90s and early 2000s up to maybe 2010s, maybe early 2015s, technology evolved extremely quickly, and now we hit this plateau in technology. There's some new things coming out, don't get me wrong, but we're in a plateau, definitely with cell phones. We haven't seen any evolution with cell phones, major. Nothing really, except the foldable, but that's not really a wow factor for me.
Right. But certainly when it comes to data and data storage, everything's virtual now, right? Cloud storage is big right now. I mean, like most people, like, do you even have, like, I have hundreds of, I used to have hundreds of video cassettes that I did last year. I did get rid of. I still have like over 250 DVD movies on, on Blu-ray or regular DVD that I still have. But again, a lot of that stuff I could probably put on, you go on YouTube and you just download a movie or whatever, or if you want to purchase it or something like that. So, digital is definitely where it is right now. And, so yes, it's a very different world, but there's still something about, I guess, if anything happens to these servers or whatever, or something gets hacked, the fact that you still have the physical product, just like having the physical vinyl record or the DVD or what have you, that you can still appreciate that. Hey, guy, CBN, Ted does. Hope you're feeling better, bud. Heard you were down a little bit. Hope you're feeling better. But certainly appreciate you stopping on in tonight to talk about talk about some of the stuff. So Peter is younger than he looks. He looks like he's in his 50s.
Ball. That's what's gonna fucking happen.
He's coming at you tonight. You're getting all the old man jokes tonight, and I'm much older than you, so
don't worry.
I'm getting spared. I show my age. I show my floppy. So that's how I'm proving my age. I'm showing my floppy disks and whatnot. And again, David, if you didn't see earlier, like I was showing, I still have these. So again, 5.25-inch floppy disks. And I got my 3.5-inch floppy disk. So again, I still have those, and I think I got zip drives, and I got all kinds of old storage systems or whatnot. But yeah, it is still things I just haven't been able to get. In fact, I still have some hardware in the basement that I really need to kind of just just part ways with and whatnot. But for some reason, I just kept on to it. But yeah, it seems like you're still going through things. So again, hopefully you get better on that. You said you beat me on that. Yeah, man. As I'm terrible that way. But I'm
Honestly,
already
bro,
starting like tonight because I had to look for some documents. So I'm already starting getting some no, just clearing out some. I got papers like I got filing cabinets full of paperwork that's like 30, 35 years old.
it's
That
funny you said that
that
because
the
I have.
paper is yellowed, because it's been there so long. You know.
Yeah, because I was like going through my closet earlier today. I was looking for something, and I realized I have one. You know the plastic cabinets. I have like one of those things full. I mean, full old cables that they're obsolete. Like for
Mhm.
my old computers, like my first computer was a Dell. I'm talking about 99, 98, 98, 99, 2000 or earliest. Um,
Mm.
so I'm like, why am I keeping this shit? I have to go through that box
Yeah,
of cables.
exactly. Yeah. 'Cause like I said, I mean, you have some precious, like I said, college papers, desktop publishing projects. I mean, things that, because I kind of came into my own when I was in college. And so, that really it was also a cultural upheaval. I mean, the title of the show tonight is again, how do you kind of maintain your ties while still trying to be an individual? So again, a lot of my cultural upbringing came up in college, where I kind of got a sense of self and everything. So again, there's a lot of things that I did that I'm very proud of that that I want to keep and preserve. I got documents, software documents from famous professors and whatnot that I still want to preserve. And yes, to answer Wife School's question, yes, I still have, and it still works, my college typewriter. It's a silver reed. It had corrected tape and everything on it. It was like a digital typewriter. Yes, it's still in my office. I still have it, and it still works. So yes, because I used to afterwards, because a lot of times you had to fill out paperwork, and sometimes it would be like on the paper, and then the paper would have sheets like the pink copy and the yellow copy and whatnot. Rather than writing it out, I would just feed it into my typewriter and type up stuff or whatever. I probably did that up until maybe like 10 years ago. But I never wanted to get rid of the typewriter. So yeah, so I like I said, I hoard technology, and do I have an over? No, I do not have an overhead manual projector. No, I don't have those. I don't have microfiche. I don't have a lot of those kind of things. Shout out to Brokeback Jack. You're telling me this dude. Nah, I'm no sugar here, buddy. I'm sugar free. Um, Here we go again, Craig. You doing Zimmer frame for your birthday? Yes, yes.
Keep it up,
Like I said,
Greg. Keep it up.
I just kind of hold on to stuff. I just gotta hold on to stuff. But yeah, but yeah, but let's get into some of the topics tonight. So again, Pete, I know you brought this topic up as a point of discussion. So I just want to see, kind of where you want to take the discussion, what inspired you to talk about this. Actually, we had two shows, but then when I looked at them, I said, you know what, we can probably combine this into one show because
Mhm.
we're basically talking about the same thing. So again, if you come from again, especially if you come from an ethnic background, let's say like a very traditional type of background, either from a foreign country, from the islands, or from Peter's from Greece. And obviously there's a culture, there's a tradition there. In Pete's case, for like thousands of years. I mean, Greece is one of the oldest civilizations, extant civilizations that's still pretty much intact. And you have, there's obviously there's a world there. If you saw my big fat Greek wedding or in the sequels and whatnot, there's a lot of traditions there that as an outsider you may look at as funny, but part of the movie was here you have this daughter who's kind of breaking away from some of those traditions a little bit. And so how do you still
That is funny you
honor
mentioned that
your
because
culture, but at the same time, find yourself as an individual? How you're able to balance those two worlds out?
it's funny you mentioned that because as a Greek American, I realized the last couple of years that tradition is everything in my culture. The way you dress, the way you talk, the way you act, from the coffee you drink, is a lot of culture in the Greek community, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And this came to me recently. I'm like, I love my Greek music, and me and my boss were talking actually, and I love my Greek music. I love the culture because I find out it's very unique
Mhm.
versus other people. then I also realized I'm also the black sheep from the church, believe it or not. And I
Mhm.
mentioned that 2 years ago when we first started this show.
Yeah.
Remember we did a show,
Yeah.
the Black Wolf, I think, a Black Sheep. I don't remember what we
Mhm.
titled it back then.
Yeah.
And I am. I'm not denying that, and I'm proud of it. I'm not denying that one bit. I am one of the few guys in there who has a big ass beard, tattooed it up, and isn't like there's few Greeks that are tattooed it, but there's from between and far. But a lot of Greeks who are tattooed with beard are actually in Greece, not Greek Americans, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
So as I'm thinking about it, I'm looking and I'm looking, I'm like, how do you not lose yourself by when you learn different hobbies, different, different cultures? How can you stay authentic to yourself?
Mhm.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Well, there's a lot there because again, you have to ask like, what is when you talk about your authentic self, you know, especially tied to a culture. I mean, are we getting to a point now, especially that the world is connected? I mean, a lot of these cultures were defined because they were isolated and you had borders and whatnot, and that certainly helped to define the people over time. But we're living in an essentially a borderless world, a world that's very connected. So we have to start asking ourselves our questions: how long will culture survive in the next couple hundred years? So again, Greece culture for thousands of years. The world is globalizing. We've seen cultures really die. Like we talk about the dinosaurs, right? And you've had cultures that have essentially died out. Languages die out, and people adopt English or the major languages, French or but those are things that are happening. Certainly in modern times with this spread of technology, like we talked about last night, people connecting. And so, are these things even going to be relevant in the future? And then when you talk about in my situation is very different from yours in that, well, at least I think it is. I'm not sure. We still have some questions there. But just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, I'll just drop this in the stage. So this is my current. So I just downloaded it before the show. This is my current ancestry. So I got my DNA done back in 2020, I believe, 2019, 2020. And there's been a lot of shifting in it since I've had it done. But this is my current DNA breakdown. So again, so David, I'm claiming my 24%. I want my 24%. All right. So but West Africa, been in Togo, Mali, Ghana, Senegal. I got a little bit of everything. North Central Nigeria, Central Nigeria. This makes up a good chunk of my ancestral DNA. But then I also have from Central Africa, so from Cameroon and the Western Bantu peoples makes up 18% of me. But then I got a little, and if you're an African American, on average, you're going to have anywhere between 10 and 15% at minimum of European DNA. So again, the Western Midlands of England, I'm 11%. I got a little Irish, 2%, and I even got a little Swedish in me, 1%. So when you talk about culture, when you talk about how do you maintain your cultural ties while still being an individual, for a lot of African Americans, we had to kind of form our own culture. Now, there's always been attempts. You see, I'm wearing my dashiki here. There's always been movements, especially in the '60s, in the '70s, where we started to embrace a lot of our African roots and whatnot. But it's interesting, there's always been a friction
Hmm.
between African Americans, for example, and Native Africans, and even folks from the Caribbean, in terms of what cultures are we going to claim? And just looking at this map here, who am I going home? If I was going to, I'd say, well, I'm going back home. Where am I going? Whose home am I showing up at? Or am I showing up at all of them? You know what I mean? It would be a trip if I also went back to England to find some ancestors
You know
there.
what? The funny part, I don't see any Greek in there still.
Yeah, still no Greek. But again, my people, they actually came to the Carolinas. In fact, the ancestry it's gotten younger in the dating. Right now, I'm 1700 Right now, my DNA in this country traces back to 1700 in the U.S. So my ancestors have been here before the country was founded in 1776. You know, so again, for a lot of us, we had to kind of form our own culture, our own identity. And sometimes there's been pushback when African Americans sometimes when we try to claim Africa. I remember when I was in college, that was a big thing. As far as we're embracing our African traditions and roots and everything like that. We got some pushback from some of the native Africans saying we weren't African. We were Americans. And I can understand it to an extent, and I'm sure they got some pushback from us. I mean, I'm not saying that African immigrants who came here, since we were the dominant black population and still are the dominant black population in the country, is American descendants of slaves, or ADOS. That's what
Mhm.
that means. All right. So these are the people who came to the country, oftentimes prior to the country being founded, and we are the black people who've been in the country ever since. We're also the only people in this Western Hemisphere that didn't have some sort of revolt or revolution in the country like Haiti did in 1789 to get their independence from their European captors. We're the only people who stayed in the land of our enslavers, and suffered through everything after that. So again, for us, trying to say who's African, who's American. In fact, we defined a lot of American culture. It's music. It's a lot of the inventions of this country. We are amongst the first Americans. A lot of people don't like to hear that when we say that, but just check out the inventions, check out the major things. When you drive down the street and hit a traffic light, a black man created that. You know what I mean? So we have been very much a part of the fabric of the country. And so do we say we're Americans? But even if we say Americans, what does that
It's
even
funny you
mean?
mention that because lately I've been discovering a lot more things about my culture. Like, for example, I'll give you two examples actually. Pizza was not invented from Italians; they were invented from Greeks actually,
Mhm,
because it was invented from pita bread. They put a tomato on it, they put cheese on it. There's their first pizza. And obviously, Italians are going to sit back and argue with me right and left. Oh, you know what you're talking about. Trust me, do your homework before you open your big fat mouth.
mhm,
Second thing was invented was in Chicago, actually. A Greek American invented soft ice cream.
mhm,
And it was by accident, actually, because his food truck broke down and his ice cream was softening up. So he just started selling it so he didn't lose his product. But
mhm,
people loved it. They went crazy for it.
mhm,
So, and that's how he came up with the idea with soft ice cream
mhm.
from a accident that his truck broke down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah. So I mean, it's there's a lot of contributions that have been done, but for someone like myself, or for a lot of African Americans, there's always been the discussion amongst us, and certainly when we interact with other folks from other African cultures.
Mhm.
Who are we and where are we in this conversation? And it's interesting because the one thing that's been some pushback is, ADOS, or American Descendant of Slaves. That's kind of been a recent thing. Some people say FBA, Foundational Black Americans. It's interesting when people started doing that. Um, People started saying, "Well, we're trying to be divisive." Right. So it's I just found that interesting that everybody Nigerian, everybody on this chart here, they can have their flag in their home and be very proud of their culture and all those things. But when we started saying we wanted to define a unique culture of our own, because in the 60s and whatnot, we were just black. Like, black is something that has been created. You know what I mean? It's when we said in the 60s, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Basically, it included anybody. If you look like me or was of my pigmentation, it didn't matter if you came from the Caribbean, if you came from Africa, or whatever. We defined or tried to define an identity that was based on experience, especially in the Americas, and to try to harmonize a set of values and principles that we as a people that we would go with. And so that led a lot of the movements, the civil rights movement in the 60s, black power movement in the 70s, and whatnot. So we kind of had that. But in recent years, probably in the last 20-25 years, because of immigration and because of a lot of the cultures that you see on the page here, who are starting to establish communities of their own in the United States. Like when I was in college, you may have maybe one or two people. One guy might be Nigerian and another guy might be from Jamaica or something like that. But again, but the majority of the students were African Americans. And so when we came together, they were like, yeah, it was almost like it was good for them to be a part of it because, you know, again, it was survival, right? You get with the people who kind of look like you. But now, like if I go to Rutgers now, you have every association. Like we used to have like we had an African student Congress, we had a Black student union. Now you go there, you have a Nigerian association, you'd have a Benin Togo association, you'd have a Mali association. So again, I guess there's enough in mass where people can kind of have their own cultural identities. And so you don't see that sense of being Black anymore. In fact, some people don't even want to be called Black anymore. They say, I'm not Black, I'm Jamaican or Nigerian or Dominican or something to that effect. Because they don't necessarily want to be associated with African Americans, even though we've been here first and we basically opened the door for everybody else to come. The civil rights movement and whatnot, we, for the most part, spearheaded that. And all the immigration that came after that came through us. And we weren't upset about that. There certainly was a Pan-African type of mindset where, again, if you were certainly native to Africa, then we were all together. A little more difficult kind of to define that now. Again, you see some of the fracturing that happens, certainly because of that. And I know my girls experienced a lot of that. They're all recent college graduates, and they saw a lot of that because, again, a lot of the schools now, if I go to Rutgers now, you have a lot of first generation descendant of immigrants. So first generation, like not second generation Nigerian Americans, Sierra Leone Americans or whatnot, and they have their own kind of vibe. And to be honest, my daughters, where they actually felt comfortable was oftentimes around the white American kids because, a lot of the African or the African cultures or whatnot, they were like, yeah, in public spaces, we're like, yeah, we're one thing, but in their private spaces, it was a little bit different. And you felt different just being in those particular spaces. So I just want to kind of share that, just kind of contrast again. But you, like I said, you come from a mostly contiguous line of culture that has been passed down over thousands of years. For a lot of African Americans, it took us a long time to really come to some sort of mindset to say like who we are or who we want to be. And, for a lot of us, again, if we try to go back to some native portion of ourselves, we'd only get like a picture, a snapshot of it, but it's not going to tell the full picture because, again, all these peoples on this chart had to come together. And the ones on the right side, that I don't think that was necessarily their intention, but we all know that, for a lot of African Americans, it wasn't because of love or free love that we have that DNA. There's a story behind that also that I won't certainly get into on the show, but it's definitely but it's definitely something worth mentioning. So I just kind of wanted to kind of do that. So this is how, me and Pete, we come to a lot of these discussions from different viewpoints and whatnot. And this is one of the reasons why he comes from a very old culture mind. We're still defining, and it's ever changing, and we're still trying to figure out a lot of times where we go from here. So when it comes to the discussion tonight, how can you be an individual versus, and how do you sort of maintain a culture? I think for a lot of African Americans, we're still trying to figure that out. But for Pete, he's got I'm sure there's a lot of social pressures that you've had to endure in
Absolutely.
terms of, how have you been able to maintain or carve out for yourself an individual perspective that at the same time, you're very proud Greek. So how do you merge those two worlds together?
That's not only the other question. The other question, how do you balance both at the same time?
Mm.
So the pressure has been very high from a very young age. You get, you get a good education, you go get a good job, usually doctor, lawyer, something like that, or every Greek parent wants you to be because that's where it pays the most. Then on top of that, they expect you obviously get a house, kids, a wife, go to church every week. It's always been a very high pressure to fill those shoes. And sometimes I feel like I filled the shoes. I always felt short by doing that
Mhm.
because I'm different in a
Mhm.
unique way. Like, a lot of my Greek friends, yes, they're into Marvel, comic books, all that stuff, but not to the extreme that I am in, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
So definitely the tatted part and the beard, like that's not the most you see a Greek man will be like shorter than this or a 5 o'clock shadow. That's all they usually do.
Mhm.
So that it was not common. A
Mhm.
Greek guy have a long beard. I remember when when I had my beard, when I had my hair, um, I was the only guy who had that long beard
Mhm.
besides the priest.
Right.
And my beard was longer than the priest. No father,
Right.
no offense, Father Castino. Like I do have a better beard than him.
Right.
But it was, you know, people looked at me like I was this alien almost,
Mhm.
like I didn't fit there.
Right.
But once they start talking to me, like, oh, he's one of us. He knows what he's talking about.
Mhm.
So it's always that cloud over me to fit those shoes, but be myself at the same time.
Mhm.
And that was always the challenge. And my mom, she's always gonna say the same thing. Like always, the señales lineali. Another one's in English pretty much is you don't care what other people say about you. Like, no, I don't really.
Mhm.
If you're that bored, you have to talk about me. I made an impact in your life. So it means
Mhm.
I got some real estate in your life, and you owe me money. That's
Mhm.
how I looked at it always.
Right.
So it just to me was always something that it was different. I knew I was different,
Mhm.
but I accepted the challenge to be different.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Well, it does. Well, I guess the question is, where's the pivot point, right? Like, where, at what point did you decide that obviously you were different, obviously, but
Mm.
when did you decide to embrace it versus fighting the pressure to conform and saying maybe I should be more this that you chose another direction? Like, was there a particular point in time where you said to yourself, I'm just going to be me, and if people say what they want or whatever, almost, and was a lot of what you did, was it almost like a rebellion to an extent, almost like a middle finger to certain people to say, I'm gonna do this. Oh, you don't like my tattoos? I'm gonna get more of them. You don't like my hair? I'm gonna grow it longer. You don't like my beard? I'm gonna grow it longer. Like, was some of that going on with the rebellion, or was it simply you just felt this is how you are, and this is uh, um,
So
what you've always been?
this is a multiple answer question. So once I got out of high school, mid 20s, I just said, "Fuck it, I'm doing me." Not, I didn't literally say that. That's how I felt.
Hmm.
I didn't realize it back then, but that's pretty much what I did, and I did me. Now the tattoo, I always wanted tattoos as a young kid.
Hmm.
I started with two, and then it just spiraled after that.
Hmm.
It's like an addiction. Anybody who has a tattoo will tell you it's an addiction. And once you get one, you get two, you get three, you get four, you get five.
Hmm.
Um, I really didn't care what my parents said. Really, like, it's my choice, my way. No, like it.
I'm saying, but talk about that. So
Yeah.
again, your parents. I mean, did they approve? Were they
So
upset?
my
Were they happy?
father. Okay, so I'll go even further back. When I decided in high school I'm going to pierce my ears, my mom was like, "That's fine. This piercing is not a big deal." She took me
Mhm.
to the piercing parlor, popped it, went on our own day. My dad wasn't happy about it. They got in a huge fight over it. And goes,
Mhm.
"Oh no, my son is gonna wear it." And like, we make fun of those people. They're fucking bums. Blah blah blah. I'm like, those risks. I'm like, my mom was looking like, "Why does it matter? It's a piercing. It's not gonna hurt anybody." And
Mhm.
when he goes to this, special events, he can take it out. It's not like a tattoo.
Mhm.
Back in my mind, I was like, "Oh, wait till I hit 21. Because I'm getting my first ink." As simple as that.
Mhm.
Because I used to get those. Remember those things you just put in a quarter and get those wash-on ones?
Oh
Remember
yeah, yeah. Wash 'em. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
used to get them every single time I went to a grocery store. I used to pick one up.
Mhm.
All the
But was there
like,
somebody? was there somebody that you saw with tats that was like, wow, that looks cool. I want to be like that um, person or what have you. Was there like an image? Was there a relative of some kind that you might have saw? I mean, again, what
I always liked them.
I'm still trying to understand the tattoo thing. Like, I don't have them. I think a couple of my daughters they may have, but they have like very small. I mean, like very small, barely noticeable or whatever. They didn't get fortunately they didn't get the addiction where they got them all over their bodies and things of that nature. But what was was there an image that you saw or a person that you admired that had them and that made you what was the desire that drove that?
For as I can remember, I always just liked them as a
Mm,
kid. I always liked the long beard, the long hair. I thought the long hair looked really cool on guys. And
mhm,
back then when I was doing it, when I grew my hair, recently, it was because I donated. It wasn't because of fashion style, because it just happened to be during COVID time and everybody was growing their hair out. It just happened to happen like that.
mhm.
But I did it mostly back in the early 2000s, late 90s. All martial arts had long hair.
Yeah, Steven
Okay.
Seagal and
Chase
Jean
David
Claude Van
Frank,
Damme. Yeah.
for example.
Mhm,
All these martial arts always had long hair.
mhm.
It,
Lorenzo Lamas, I remember.
I'm sorry.
Lorenzo Lamas, that was another guy. Like the
Yeah,
ponytail and the mullet were big, certainly back in the 90s for sure.
yeah. So all martial arts, and it goes even further back than that. If you look at Asian Japan, all samurais had a man bun.
Mhm,
It was part of their culture at the time, if you want to call it like that.
mhm.
I don't remember off my head what was the meaning behind, but it was a sacred meaning. I do remember that much.
Right.
I always thought that was cool. Then fast forward in my 20s, when I start seeing my buddies, getting promoted into special forces. And most of them always grew their hair out, grew their beard out because they were overseas.
Mhm,
And they had tatted, and they had, between the tattoos, the hair, the beard, and the physique, it was a kick-ass look.
mhm,
I'm like, now that looks cool to me.
mhm.
And it was just, it goes all of my hobbies, believe it or not, goes back to martial arts or my love to the military.
Mhm,
And the other one is because I'm also very proud Greek. I love my history behind it.
mhm,
I never stopped loving Greek history. That's one
mhm,
thing I would tell you from the start. And you know that. As a
mhm.
young kid, I was fascinated. Swords? Whoo, give me one and I use it for to dice veggies like they did in the Ninja Turtle movies.
Right,
But to me, that was fascinating. But all Greeks had long beards back in those days.
right.
So I think I just unconsciously just absorbed that into my brain,
Mhm,
and it slowly turned into like, that's cool back then, but we don't do that now. This is the look we do now, the short beard, and eventually like, ooh, this is really cool.
mhm.
And I just slowly and slowly absorbed that over time.
Right, right.
When I got older, it was like my first long beard. Because most times I didn't have patience, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? And I was growing my hair. Like, fuck it, let me do the beard too. Because once I got to this length, I always zipped it down to a 5 o'clock shadow.
Mhm,
Trust me, you don't want to see me clean shaven. Trust me,
mhm.
your
I've
eyes.
seen pictures of you clean shaven, but you didn't look too bad to me, but
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
you can tell this is a very sensitive era for him, so you're easily triggered with
We do not talk about this in this household. We do not talk about the razor, the neckline, and that's it. And maybe the cheek line a little bit.
Mhm.
We do not bring that up. So if you were to live in this house, you'd be kicked out right now.
Well, that's why I'm not living in your house. I'm in mine. So.
But I was joking aside.
Yeah.
With the so when my mom got diagnosed with cancer, I felt like I had to get something back, but I couldn't donate money because I was struggling a little bit myself at the time. I had a
Sure.
lot of bills, her medical expenses, and I came up with the deal like it just came just like that. Let's grow it out and donate it. Fuck it, and I did.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I grew the beard, and that's where I came across Dan C. Bearded, and I became friend with that guy. And at the
Mhm.
same time, I started a YouTube channel. At the time, I was calling myself Grooming and Reviews 101, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I documented my journey from the beginning to the end, from the point I grew the beard out all the way to the end. And it's not like what people think it is, Paul. Throw
Mhm.
the razor and call it a day. You don't have to shave again, and that's it.
Mhm.
It's a lot of work behind it.
Right.
Put the oil, washing, conditioning, all that stuff. It's
Mhm.
work.
Mhm.
But that to me, that was always a cool look. Most Greeks, when I grew up, a lot had, in the 20s, all of them had long hair.
Mhm.
Every single one of them. It's rare when you saw people now with long hair.
Right.
So I think that kind of fits with the culture too.
Right. Right.
It's
But
Go
I,
ahead.
I guess where I'm driving at, I mean, certainly, kind of get into, to style wise and how you look and present yourself is one thing, but, and this was actually a conversation from the dinner Friday night, because again, we have, collection of people there, again, different cultural backgrounds, Asian, Indian, Sierra Leone, Caribbean, all types of people there, and a lot of the conversation was around young people like Gen Z. We all have kids around, that Gen Z age group
Mhm.
and whatnot. And especially for the people who come from like their first generation here in the country, they may have came here for school or something like that in the 80s. And they just established a home here. They established a culture here. They built a culture here. Like where I'm at, there's a large Asian Indian population here, certainly in New Jersey, in central New Jersey in particular, Edison in particular. And, it's very prominent here. But what's common that I saw with all these cultures is for the children who grew up here, it's a very different, they have a very different mindset than that of their parents. There's certain things about the culture that they appreciate, namely the gatherings. They like the festivals, you know, or any opportunities where they can get around, a lot of their friends or cousins and things like that. Like they like that environment, you know. But the thing that I'm seeing is that for a lot of them, and again, I know economics is a big deal these days, especially the cost of living, but it just seemed like a lot of these young people, these Gen Zs or whatnot, have no interest in necessarily propagating that. You know what I mean? Like when you ask them questions about, like, these gatherings, you have a lot of cousins. So again, there's a lot of marriages. Um, a strong sense of community, the music, that's there and the dress, the classical dress garments and whatnot. And, those are things that certainly for the parents and for the grandparents and the aunties and the uncles and whatnot, this is, dear to them. And it seems like a lot of people are, and this may be one of the things about America. I mean, we've talked so much about this rugged individualism that is it hurting these cultures to an extent where you won't even recognize them in a few years. The thing that you notice off the bat is the immediate thing is the language barrier. Like the kids, they may understand the language that's being spoken to them. Like the parents, they may speak a language in the house, but they barely speak it. And if they do, it's like it's not very good. But they understand everything. They understand. And I remember that even when I was in college, said my best friends, they're from Haiti. And so I would go to their home and whatnot. And the mom and dad, they all spoke either French or Creole. That was it. And they understood everything, but barely spoke it back unless they were absolutely forced to converse with, especially they had relatives in Boston and, different areas or whatnot where they had to, converse a little bit. But it was a weird thing. It was almost like, the first time I saw it, it was weird. It was almost like out of Star Wars, right? Like, when like Han is talking to Chewie or whatever, and Chewie's just grunting, and then Han says something back, it's like an exchange. You don't know what's being said, but they understand it fluently. And so that's gone. So language is certainly a cultural thing that when you have kids one day, What is the likelihood that your kids will speak Greek?
That is a catch-22 question because it really depends on if my wife is Greek or not. If she's not Greek, it's a 50-50 chance. If she
Well,
is Greek, it's a very high chance.
well, see, that's part of culture also.
Yeah.
The partner that you choose. You say you're a proud Greek, but are you proud enough to say, I will only marry a Greek woman because I am invested in propagating Greek people and Greek culture? Or with these things, I'm unique, so I'll marry who I want to marry. She could be black, Latino, whatever, and just be that. You're going to lessen your likelihood of passing that on. But should you then let a cultural decision affect your individual choice in terms of who you love? And some people, that's still a discussion. Forget it's 2025 in certain households and discussions. If I went over to a Nigerian home now and say if my wife was Nigerian, or if she was like her mom is my wife's mom is originally from the Bahamas, but her mom, when she came here, she kind of like assimilated. Like she didn't really embrace a lot of her Bahamian roots or anything like that. And her dad is from America, so African American. So that wasn't like a big deal. But I already know, like, if I went into a very ethnic home as an African American, even though they may look like me, I know there's going to be discussion. Because again, when you're around these very proud cultures and whatnot, there's a vibe there, there's a rhythm, there's a resonance, the music, the fellowship, how they interact and everything. You definitely feel like an outsider. When my family went over to the party for a Sierra Leone family, they were all nice and welcoming and everything, but you knew you were different. And if I was there, let's say if my wife at the time, if she was one of them, like native, like, first generation here or whatever, and I went there and, oh, this is my American, because that's what they were oftentimes referred to as us. Here's my American boyfriend. I don't know how some people would take that. So again, how much are you willing? So this is one of those decisions that you have to make. How do I maintain my cultural integrity while still being an individual? If you marry someone outside of that, that may, as even with the best efforts, right? I know like black men who've married white women, but the white women try their best to make sure that the kids identify as black and go to all the black functions and try to know their black history or whatever. But a lot of times the kids don't embrace it like that, or at least until they go to school. I know a few biracial kids when we all went to Rutgers, a lot of us didn't have any kind of cultural identification, certainly not with Africa or anything. And we got involved in like student organizations, again, pro-black, pan-African groups and whatnot. And we kind of learned some history and things. We were like, oh, okay, we can rock with this. Because for the biracial kids, they didn't feel necessarily accepted, certainly in the white spaces. I'll say that. The black spaces were a little bit more embracing for them than some of the white spaces they were in. So when they came in, they became dashiki wearing and medallion wearing and black power and stuff like that, because they found the place where people weren't going to shade them because they were biracial. But there's certain areas that you can't hide, that if you're in white spaces, you're going to stick out. And a lot of them felt that when they were in those environments. So again, when it comes to, again, are you somebody who would say, my first partner, if I meet somebody, hey, like I said, sometimes you can't choose who you fall in love with. But in terms of your selection process, if you were like to go greekonly.com, right? Like Greeks.com, GreekDating.com,
It's called actually,
GreekMarriage.com. Yeah.
what was it called? Eligible Greeks. That's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
But the website kind of sucks. There's never really on that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. You're 100% right. So I've been fighting with that thought of mine for years. am I going to be okay not marrying a non-Greek? So I really didn't think too much of it till I was engaged.
Mhm.
And I realized, yes, I will be okay
Mhm.
under one condition.
Mhm.
I need and must marry in an Orthodox church.
Mhm.
And that's my only term and condition. And they're usually pretty good with it. My ex said, oh, she was going to learn Greek. She learned a couple words here and there. I'm not denying that.
Mhm.
But her to have learned the language completely was it impossible? No. I know a lot of people who are non-Greeks and they married a Greek and they end up marrying, learning Greek. Great story. My mom's friend, family friend,
Mhm.
my mom's, years ago. This was before I was born, and she tells me the story all the time. He married a Latino, I believe,
Mhm.
and she's gonna pick up this woman from the airport, and his wife was a stay-at-home wife, cook, clean, take care of the kids, whatever, right? And his mother was flying in.
Mhm.
He didn't know secretly she was leaving the house going to learn Greek.
Mhm.
So one day, my mom went to the airport with her to pick her up because she doesn't know Greek, whatever. And he was there too. They're just, then up, he got off work early. They end up going like a three, like a group to pick
Mhm.
her up. And she goes, "Welcome home," in Greek to her, saying, "Welcome home, mother." He literally almost shit his goddamn pants because she didn't know. He turned around like, why the fuck did you learn Greek? You're like, well, when you were at work, I kept myself busy. I went
Mhm.
to Greek school.
Mhm.
So that's really up to the individual, I believe. I'm not
Yeah,
saying,
but I'm just saying, but there could be potential cause that. So let me just raise Anton. So I know he said his wife isn't Haitian, and we've never had any issues with me teaching our children Haitian culture. Cool. Question: do your kids speak? Well, first of all, do you speak fluent French, Creole, or Patois? And or do your kids speak fluent French, Creole, or Patois? Because, like I said, that's a lot of times that's like the first thing that goes. And language is a cultural form. Again, we can all communicate in different languages and everything. It's not a deal breaker per se, but you already see for a lot of people, again, if you want to keep the languages going, again, a lot of languages are going extinct because of the proliferation of English is the terms of business and whatnot, and more people are starting to embrace, at least in part. Mandarin Chinese might be the most spoken language on earth or something, just given the population there. But again, you see a lot of these kids who are from all parts of India. India has 26 states and 26 languages. And when the kids who grew up here, they barely speak any of them. They understand it, but then what happens when if they decide to marry even if it's another Asian Indian, does it? Because then they go deep. It's not only just about the state that you're from or that you're of a certain ethnicity. They go down to this other level. They go to this caste system, and caste, that's like a class thing. So you could be the same in the same city. But if your family connections aren't good, and I don't know if David, if he's still out there in chat, I don't know if there's some sort of caste system in Nigerian culture. But again, a lot of those things that define these cultures for hundreds, if not thousands of years, one by one, they're kind of being ticked off and just going the wayside because, again, for a lot of people, when you grow outside of it, so like I said, these cultures were defined by borders and experiences and regions and things of that nature. And now we're in this global world. People can travel all over the world, live anywhere in the world that you want to live. Will these things that we put so much pride in, will they endure in the next few hundred years? because those are things that are um when people say culture, how do how do you preserve your culture or keep in contact with it? Again, language is always one of them. So you're already conceding that you're going to give that up if you more times than not if you marry outside of a person in your culture. And so for a lot of people, those are questions that, is that worth preserving? But if we want to say, hey, love who you want to love, marry, do live free and be an individual and do all those things. The culture that you say you love and you appreciate and that gives you so much and makes you proud. It's tough. My boss at work, she's Macedonian. She married a Korean.
Mm-hmm.
But even now, she says she has problems. God said, so do you get a chance to speak a lot of? Obviously, she's not speaking Macedonian language in the house. And she's even saying she's finding it hard to even converse herself in Macedonian when she talks to like folks in Macedonia or, other older relatives or whatnot. It's like, unless you're kind of in it for a while, you even start losing it a little bit. So she's saying, so she already knows, like, her Macedonian is going to kind of stop with her. She hasn't even taken her kids to Macedonia. So the kids don't even know, but I think she's been to Korea, but her kids have never been to Macedonia. So you already know that there's certain ties to that history are going to be cut off by the Atlantic and simply by the culture that they're growing up in. It's not going to be forced. And as more people start to marry I hate the word, but interracially, and we're seeing that's the fastest growing demographic in America is interracial marriages of all time. Go to an IKEA on a Saturday. I've never seen. You want to see diversity in dating? You'll see every kind of couple you can think of in IKEA, especially the one in Elizabeth, in New Jersey on any given weekend. It's the most diverse crowd that I've ever seen, especially when it comes to dating. Asian with Latin, Asian with black with Filipino. It doesn't matter. It's every kind of culture there. But then again, what is culture going to mean at that point? And then we're going to have to start asking ourselves, what then is American culture, if there is such a thing? Because at first they were talking about we're a melting pot. Now we're saying we're a stitched fabric because, again, you have a lot of these ethnic communities are starting to flex a little bit. Like you can go to Brighton Beach, New York and not speak any English. You can go to New Brunswick, where I live at, and not speak any English. And so people are starting to kind of form, again, their own little community circles or whatnot in these areas here. So I think these are questions that that I'm curious about for those who want to be part of the combo. But now typically on the Gray Area Show, we typically, again, we have a call-in show where we invite guests on, but this guy we always rely on, and it's our brother Bear Paul. First of all, how you doing? I thought you'd be in bed or something. Man. How you feeling?
I've been recovering. I was going through a lot of body pain. It was racking my head like crazy. I don't know why. Then I realized I was stressing myself out too much.
Hmm.
So when I told her title about culture, I told her let me listen to the whole conversation. Then when you asked me about the the culture concerning Nigeria, I don't think it would disappear because right now you have a few individuals out there who are unlocking certain information that we were not taught. Remember that I said before that a lot of history about Nigeria as a whole was never taught in the high school for
Hmm.
a specific reason.
Before you go on,
But
search heading, shout out to our guy Braxton, Braxton Snake Fiend. We're gonna call him that. I'm not adopting a snake. I was 24, but happy birthday. Certainly appreciate you being here tonight, and certainly all the best. Again, my wife's birthday was a couple days ago, so again, but happy birthday to you, and thank you for spending part of your birthday with us. We certainly really appreciate that. All right, go ahead, David.
Now, if anything, I gotta give a shout out to a couple of people who understood the deep history concerning Africa. That is, Ekene is one of them, and the other one called the Merc. The Merc have been an individual who are going much, much deeper because I remember we had this conversation before about African culture, especially from my own country perspective. But learning that my country was actually a business hub for the European at first, which they forced a lot of tribes to be part of one particular country. Because remember, I told you 500 dialects.
Mhm.
When there's 500 dialects, that means there's 500 different tribes.
Mhm.
Imagine 500 different tribes forced under one identity, which is not their true identity to begin with.
Mhm.
That is conflicting. Again, they were correct to say before there were 54 countries, there were 5 kingdoms. Since you are more than Yoruba tribe, that means you're part of the kingdom of Benin. The kingdom of Benin with a hidden history that was kept from the history book for a specific reason. Now, while you have these new generation of people who are now digging in more and more to uncover information concerning our history, why we were not taught or why it was kept away from us,
Mhm.
the Merc did a interview with Joel Reed. If you have the chance, look up that interview. He broke it down what Nigeria was going through. They're about to do the same thing in the US, but that's a whole different conversation. But
Mhm.
understanding the cultural history of Africa based on different regions, I don't think it will disappear if they're being, I'm looking for the word, if they're being retaught or being made known that a lot of your history you don't even know that is kept for you on purpose. Because if you knew of your history, then you know of your origin. When you know of your origin, you know of who you really are from. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I almost refused not to follow my culture because I felt there was so much about it that people weren't telling me. Because when you growing up in a household in Nigeria for 7 years and you're told one thing to another thing, I always ask this question: where it is written? You're not a practical individual. You want to see information. If you tell me one thing and I don't see anything that match up with it, it's hard for me to believe. The tribal mark thing, I didn't realize was something going way back before the colonization because this is meant for each individual tribe.
Mhm.
The difference in who's who for what tribe.
Mhm.
Because besides Nigeria, we got Nigeria, and another country called Benin. They're all part of a former kingdom. So imagine you mentioned something about the Berlin Conference, where you have a group of European people that decide to chop up the country, no, chop up the continent, rename it Africa, what is not an original name, and each one pick and choose which region they will take control of.
Mhm.
I had to learn that for myself. I'm in my 40s, and to find out there's way more history concerning my country and what happened to my people,
Mhm.
it's scary. It is. So I
Right.
asked myself, is it a possibility my culture will disappear? Not exactly, but it would make it seem that way when you have people behind the scenes trying to force you not to remember.
Right.
Mhm.
But see, it would be different, and I think it'd be different for Peter also. Would he have the same views if he was in Greece? If you grew up in Greece, or just like if you grew up in Nigeria and stayed
Hmm.
in Nigeria, it would be harder, or it would certainly be, or it would be easier to maintain a lot of that cultural integrity and whatnot. Again, because of the borders and because of, for the most part, only the affluent really kind of move around. But here in the States, or if you leave, and even if you form communities in these other countries, in Great Britain or America or wherever migrants go, how soon before the dominant culture of the country or the land starts to take over, and when do people start looking at themselves more so either as cultural of that country, or how easy it is, could you be who you guys are in your native countries as easy as you could be able to do it here?
Now, that's a good question. I found that hard to give you the answer yes or no. And the reason why I find it hard, as a person like me who have been observant of my own people since they came into the country in the early 80s, I watched the different generation of Nigerians who were born here, either at the same time I was born or after I was born, let's say when my brother age or my baby sister age, and I look at the dynamics. When you have a community with mostly Nigerians, some tend to keep it, some tend to walk away.
Mhm.
That's what I noticed in the US. This is where people start to migrate because normally during the 80s, New York City had the huge population of Nigerians
Mhm.
back in the early 80s.
That's right. You had a big migration there.
Now,
Same with Asian Indians as well. You had and I think in that context, I'll let you finish, but if you have a bunch of people who come within a relatively short period of time, just like the ethnic minorities that came to New York in the 1920s, when the Italians came, when
yeah,
the Irish came, they all kind of came on the boat Ellis Island at the same time. So you were able to kind of maintain a lot of that cultural, the language and just the way of doing things. But even then, it kind of fell off over time. How can you maintain
and
and keep that
and that's why
over
I'm trying to
time
point that
unless
out.
you're in a very closed off kind of environment?
That's what I'm trying to point out because shout out to Sugar Mike. He understood this better than I do because he too became part of the migration. If anybody know Sugar Mike and I are family friends because we grew
Mhm,
up since we were little. We all used to come from the same church.
mhm,
His family migrated out of New York City further down to Texas. If anybody understood Texas, there is a community of Nigerians in Houston area.
mhm,
That's their own dumping ground now. Before we used to have a huge community in the US. But slowly but steady it started to disperse for multiple reasons. One could be because of the weather. I may say that may be the case, but other people look at the I don't know, I don't think it's a policy, I'd be something that's beneficial to them more. They moved to Texas. A small group moved to the Midwest state whereby it's more feasible for them to go, let's say based on living wise, I'm not sure. Some went to Florida, but the big one I know is in Florida. Now you will flip it to the UK region. I'm shocked and surprised they're actually a town in the UK that everybody know that's all Nigerian community right there, designated for Nigeria alone, what I never knew.
mhm,
But when I start to look into it more further down the line, it's not just that they have a whole well community all Nigerian.
mhm.
There's a lot of Nigerian multimillionaires in that areas in that one country as well. I was like, hmm, okay. So like you mentioned, do they keep their culture? Yes or no?
Well,
Some decide.
I would say this based on what you described. I think certainly they're forming their chances of keeping it is certainly going to be increased. But the question for you would be, or for Peter, you as individuals that I know you guys the way I know you, you think very different, even though you're connected,
Hmm.
but you're different.
I totally
Would
agree.
you be allowed to be who you are in those cultures? Would you have the freedom to have the opinions and the views that you do to move and operate the way you do? That's
Yes.
to me. That's to me. That's the trade off,
So
right?
with me being a
Yeah.
Greek, yes, it would be. I could still, you know, do what I want to do. But would people be looking at me a little different? Yes. People were saying like, "Look, yo, you see that guy over there? He's weird. He's strange. He's not like one of us." A lot of people be talking shit behind my back. So that's a trade off. I will
Mhm.
be able to do what I want to. So it's just one of those things. Is like, how comfortable are you in your own skin? Are you able to handle the shit talk behind your back? I was, and I give a shit. I really didn't give a shit.
Behind your back, I would think if you're in a dominant culture, it'd be right in your face. It
Most people
wouldn't have
talk
to go
behind
behind
your
your
back.
back. It would just be, You're the weird kid. You're the haha. Pete is funny. David, he's into
But
his.
also, Paul, you have to understand, when I was living in Greece, I was never accepted 100% either, because I was known as the Americano, the American. Everybody's my nickname in Greece. It wasn't Peter. It wasn't Panayotis. It wasn't Taki. It wasn't Spartan. It wasn't Ghost of Sparta. It wasn't the asshole. It was Americanos. That was my nickname.
Meaning what it means.
American.
Okay, you got to eat it that I did. You got to eat it that I did.
Well, I am looking.
When I came to Nigeria, there was a job they have with kids who parent on Nigerian but coming from the US or from the UK. There's a term called ajebota. Anyone who's a Yoruba person know what that means. What ajebota means, you are a weakling. But we refer to American kids as weakling, right? So yes, at first I was not accepted. That is factual. But as time progresses, not only I got used to the culture, I kind of enjoyed it. It is weird to say that I kind of enjoyed the culture because there was a level of, I'm looking for the word to say. It's not identity, it's a sense of pride. You ask me, because there's a thing about Nigerian, the environment they live in Nigeria is much harsher. I would say maybe 10 to 100%, 10 to 100 times harsher than the US. If you can survive Nigeria, you can survive anywhere. Plain truth.
Mm.
I lived there for 7 years, so I'm aware.
Mm.
And then when people are telling me after I left, a decade or two later, that what I had been back in 90, from 95 to 97, have multiplied 100 times fold, that let me know it is about survival. Because one, there was no such thing as the middle class. I believe I brought that to your attention before in the past conversation. They either the upper class and there was a lower class. That was the issue. But what built Nigerians as a whole is their level of adaptability. They know how to adapt to the situation as much as they can. They find the opportunity to go somewhere else, they would do it. But the moment they do get a chance to go somewhere else, to Bennett, you see it for yourself.
Mm.
When they come here, what's the first thing you know about them when they come here?
Mm.
I know we spoke about it at length. They don't take no opportunity for granted. Am I correct?
Yeah, but I see that in most immigrant communities, those who
That's
come
most
from, I
immigrant.
mean, Jamaicans, it doesn't matter if you're Caribbean, and there's an immigrant work ethic or mindset, especially if you're coming from a third world type of situation or whatever, that you just exploit. And again, when you travel, you see it. I mean, when I've gone to DR and in a lot of places in the Caribbean, and right then I understood why a lot of
So, Paul, I'm gonna
people
cut you off
when
a
they
second. I have a personal belief in that, and I'll tell you my belief. Most Americans are fucking lazy. You're probably one of the exceptions. Is that because I see your work ethic. You have a work ethic like mine. I have zero tolerance under my staff with, I don't feel good. I have a headache. Fuck off, man up and go to work. I tell them straight up like that. In the kitchen world, you don't call off. But in the real world, most immigrants are the most hardest people out there. Including myself, David. I'm trying to think of a couple other people I know. Most people that I know who are from, they're not born here or even raised here. They're immigrants like myself. Their work ethic is 10 times stronger than anybody out there.
But sometimes it could be a detriment to our own health, because I did mention this before in the past. I don't allow myself to get a day off, even if I'm sick. Because of the supply I used to have when I was working before, I would buy such things to make sure the moment I put a sign of chicken coming in, I'll pop airborne into a cup of water, drink that thing every 4 to 6 hours every day. within the day. So
Mhm.
within 2 days, that thing is going, and I keep it moving because I don't have time to take a day off.
Right.
Everything will invest on me.
Right.
It's that mindset. I gotta
Right.
keep going. I gotta
But
keep going. I gotta keep going.
again, that's a cultural thing. Just like I said, language. It's the
Hmm.
same thing. Are your kids going to have the same mindset as you? It's almost impossible. I mean, and like I said, unless you're in it, like you got to be 10 toes down in it. It's got to be around you, surround you all the time. It's got to be beat into you.
Every Nigerian parent knows this. It's hard to keep them in it unless you have a community who would put it their responsibility to make sure they keep them in it.
Yeah.
Some Nigerian community let that thing slide too much. So this is why there's always a saying: the moment you see them out of hand and they're not gonna change, send them back. I was one of the first group of kids who got sent back to Nigeria because they felt like we were stepping out of line. Now we are forgetting who we are as a person. And I was watching an interview before I came on the panel, how one person was taken back to Nigeria and she asked the individual, "Have you been to Nigeria?" He said, "Yeah." So you get the picture. And
Mhm.
what shocked me, I thought my issue was complicated. My grandfather from my mom's side had 3 wives. My grandmother, who I miss so dearly because this past week I broke into tears, she was the most genuine person to me. When I heard she said her grandfather had 16 wives, I almost choked on my saliva. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the coach. Yeah. So
16 wives would mean there's 44 kids. And her mom was one of the
Good luck
44. I
to
was
him.
like, so you get the picture. There's a culture dynamic behind that.
right.
So when I listened to her comments, I said, no, I need to watch it another time because I want to take note. Sometimes it's good to hear another Nigerian story or their past in life so you can start to understand where they come from. And for what I'm learning right now, you just said totally correct. Every immigrant have a story to tell based on what their culture is all about, based on the cultural foundation that built them. But the next generation, will they keep the culture? That's always have been a massive question mark because one, what environment are you raising them in?
Mhm.
That's the key issue because we talk about other ethnic group in this country, the Jewish people, they find a way to keep their culture intact one way or another
Mhm.
due to the environment they created for themselves. The Indian, no different.
Mhm.
They decide to keep themselves concentrated in one area and they have what they call gatekeepers, right? The
Look at
Mexican.
the Greek community, David, because most people think the biggest community in Greece is in New York and Astoria. That is actually false. It's actually in Boston. People think it's in New York. Is not. But
Right.
most Greeks keep to themselves into the community, like you just said.
Right.
Like every
But
Greek
yeah, right.
person.
And I would even say, even with the Jewish community, I mean, that's even that you can't say Jewish community, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I went through your area dropping you off last month. That's a very distinct, right? Even in Judaism, there's different branches, right? You got your
Hmm.
liberal, you got your conservative, like those
Hmm.
folks. It's like, but again, they own their own institutions of learning, their own schools. I mean, it is so
I know.
closed off.
Eaton Parkway was exposed to a lot of that. You see the
Right. I'm
you
just
see the
saying, but
bank, you see
in
the
order,
school.
yeah,
It what I found out, it's unfair to say the Jewish community. Well, I should say what tribe of Jewish community am I referring to? Because what I saw on Eaton Parkway is not the same when you go closer to the Koreana just because as you move further away,
hmm
if you go to another community that is also a Jewish community, but it's not the thing that you saw from Eaton Parkway.
right. But even like mainstream, like it's just like in a church, right? You have Easter and Christmas Christians, right?
Hmm.
You got the same thing in Judaism. Like I know a ton of, especially if you're talking about Gen X and younger,
Hmm.
who are basically look, they're down with again Hanukkah, they're down with Passover, Yom Kippur.
Hmm.
Outside of that, they don't even like to even flex that they're Jewish. You know what I mean? It's
Mm.
much more of a cultural thing than a religious thing with them. But some of them, like the Orthodox, uh that's a different world. It's like they dress different, they move and act differently because again they have so much control over that environment. But the question I would have, could someone with your mindsets operate in that culture? Because they're not going to allow you to be Pete with your tats in
I know.
or with your inch. So again, that's to me that's the trade off. You know,
Oh,
the try to
I totally agree.
we can envy or marvel at what they've been able to build or produce. But if you want to be an individual in that world, you're going to be an outcast. And you got to ask yourself if you so again, it's the trade-off. What do you want? Do you want the propagation of the culture, which these people are very dedicated to doing? Or do you want a world of individuals where there's really no cultural at all and people just being who they being? And like I
I'll
was
be.
saying earlier, this is having impact on family structure.
It
I mean,
does.
all these communities. Like I said, when I went to that Sierra Leone party, none. In fact, the mom. I was with her last my wife's birthday party. We were conversing, talking about that very party that I was at. I told her how much I really saw and appreciated the culture that was there. They had the men's group. You know, in a lot of African cultures, the men sit on the other side. Like men gather together in this space, and there's usually like you can tell almost who the tribal, like the head guy there, right? Because everybody's around them and nobody's saying anything until he says anything. You just sit there and wait. I'm like, you know, I didn't want to even go there. Like I know it's like I don't belong. I don't belong there, right? I could go say hello, how you guys doing or whatever, you know, brothers dab each other up and stuff. I'm like, no,
You
I
get
am
it.
not them. I
You
am
get it.
different from them. But when I talked to those girls, because I was there because my daughter is friends with her daughter. That's how they got close. They're tight. And I asked them, I said, like, so when do women get married in this culture? Because there was a lot of girls. I mean, you could tell they're having families there. I'm like, so when does the average girl get married? She's like, oh, around 26, 27. So I just said, oh, okay, so in 5 years, because I think my daughter was 22 at the time. I said, oh well, there's going to be a ton of weddings in this piece because all these women going to get married off. To a one, it's like no, it's like they appreciate the culture. They, like I said, the cousins and the music and the food and the dance and the relationships. They appreciate all of it, but you don't want to propagate it. The only way you're going to propagate it is to marry, have your own kids, and preferably marry someone from that culture so you can keep the language going. Half the girls don't even speak the language right because they grew up here. The girl she went back to Sierra Leone like in 2020 that same year, and she was getting laughed at because her whatever that language is.
I explain it. If you don't hit the right dialect, you
Yeah,
get caught out. I got caught out when I
but it
mentioned my
wasn't
own
it
Yoruba
wasn't it
language.
wasn't pleasant. So she
So,
already knows there's a so again, do you want the culture or do you don't? And for
and here the
some people, you're gonna have to make a choice. If you marry out, even if you marry someone who looked like me, who's as pro-black as you want to be, I'm not one of them.
but here
And
was
that's the
scary
difference,
though. But
Paul.
here was
That
scary
is the
to me though.
difference.
Let me add to this.
You
I'm glad you said that. But what's scary to me right now, I'm sure you have seen some clip along the internet, either on YouTube or on TikTok. But what drove me insane that I'm finding European people learning our language faster and better than we do, to the point whereby they get married to these Nigerian men or women, but to the point whereby they rather be part of the culture instead of living out in their own origin. Which I find it strange because what you just mentioned right now, it's very key. You have a choice. Either you'll be a part of this culture, which you mentioned, there's a hierarchy when you mentioned that one. That one particular person, you know who the head guy. That was the gatekeeper.
Yeah, you could see like because I've seen because I had some neighbors, brother, he was Ghanaian, and it was like the same thing. It was like all these dudes were sitting around, nobody said anything, but there was one guy who was talking, and
And that,
everybody else was listening, and you didn't interrupt.
you can't.
I was like, yeah. So
No,
I
you
started.
no. It's not that you didn't. You can't.
I know, but I'm just. Like I said, I sensed that. Like I said, when I went to the Sierra Leone party, I knew that. I kind of waved like, "Hi." that was
Well,
that was it.
Mr. Bennett, let me
I
tell you this:
yeah.
if you're a Nigerian child and the elder of that group is speaking and you try to interrupt,
Hmm.
I don't know how many gates of eyeball will burn your sensation. You will feel the heat unheard of.
Hmm.
Everybody will pause and look at you like, what? I'm sorry. I wouldn't even dare try that.
Hmm.
7 years and I could have taught me one thing. When the elder of the group speak,
Yeah, you don't speak.
shut up.
Yeah.
You do not disrespect them. Do not back talk them. Don't think you're. I'm sorry. What the black culture normally do to their elder and the thing they can go back and forth, that is not allowed.
Hmm.
It is not.
Hmm.
And I don't want the repercussion,
Hmm.
period.
Right.
Even though who were born here and never get the chance to go over there, they comprehend it 12 words. Some learn the language, some don't. Some are intimidated by the culture because it kind of like it put a level of standard and integrity that you have to follow.
Right. But does
But
it?
you have seen a couple of event among these different Africans.
I've seen it, but does it also? And again, this kind of flies in the face of again American individualism. Like I am not like as an American, at least the way I think. And I'm not saying you have don't pockets, especially when it talks about class and things of that nature or income wise or whatever. I'm no better than anybody else, right? Like me and you, I meet you. I may introduce myself. Hello, my name is so and so. I don't care what your class standing is. I don't care what your culture is, what your title is in whatever. Now, if you tell me ahead of time, if you said, Paul, I'm about to meet someone who's very revered in your culture, then I'm gonna ask you then, okay, so how should I address them then? You know, I'll lean on the same thing with Greek. I would lean on Pete to say, hey, I'm going to meet these people. Is there a way? Do I bow? Do I curtsy? Do I whatever I would respect that because I respect you guys. But generally speaking, I'm like, yo, my name is Paul, but what's your name?
Be honest, bro, I'm the same way. I don't care where you're
have those levels, but in some of these cultures, though, there are levels. Like I don't know if David. I don't know if you guys have. Is there a caste system, at least loosely in your Yoruba, right?
hmm
In Yoruba culture, in Igbo culture, there's a caste. So, like I said, there it's deeper. You can't even say, well, we're not Nigerians or that we're Yorubas or we're Igbos or whatever. You got to go, especially for the elite classes. You got to be in there before you can before certain business is done, and definitely before marriages are done.
See,
I can't just go up to a girl and say, "Hey, I like you and you like me. Hey, let's go out. Hey, let's do." That's what we do here.
It's deep. I'm sorry. Yet I'm a Nigerian, but when I'm in Nigeria, they don't say I'm a Nigerian. They say I'm from Yoruba land. And when you hear people say I'm from Yoruba land, they're speaking something from ancient history that have been in existence before colonization. Remember, I said there's a huge history that's been missing, which I'm mad about it because I went to the school there and I realized the government was forcing this modernized version of history to be taught because they don't want people to know the real history
Mhm.
for a specific reason.
Mhm.
So they are deep level, and you're totally correct because I used to make fun of Nigerian movie, but never realized they're the reason why they keep doing that. They
Mhm.
trying to let people know there's a hierarchy in these
'Cause it-
different tribes. You cannot shift it. You cannot switch it away. You cannot say
Mhm.
it's not going to exist because I hate to tell when they're deep history, they're deep culture. When they're deep culture, they're deep root. When they're
Yeah,
deep root, there's actual resource connected to it.
yeah. But David, I got you. You brought it up, bro. I've seen a lot. I don't even know how they got into my feed. Right. I be watching these Facebook Nollywood film. These shorts be coming up in my feed, bro. That's not. I'm like, this isn't Nigerian. Somebody took Real Housewives of ATL or whatever, and they just made it the Nigerian version of it.
Paul,
I'm
I'll be
like,
honest with you,
I'm
dude.
saying to myself, you can't be acting like that. Like, there's no way that stuff goes on in Nigeria the way unless I'm mistaken. But it just seems like it's like if that's what Nigerian is, I'm sticking in America then. I mean, why?
Here's the
I would
problem.
think I'd want to go somewhere and get a different experience or whatever. But if y'all gonna act a fool like the American women do, I might as well take my chances with the American women then.
Here where the issue when I mentioned when I was there, thing was hard, right? After I left 2 decades later, I'm being told what I experienced there multiplied by 100. So it's more like survival to fit because of bad leadership. You get what I'm saying?
Mm.
But when I ask my peers who are living there, being from different ranking systems, they were the same. Because of the environment, things have forced people to change based on their own decision making. Some still stick to the culture, but others have, like you said, how far of a member. Because I used to make fun of my own country long before you two start to post on it because my issue was they almost walk me for the culture and some of themselves show where they want to adopt anything and everything they see in the US. Perfect example, there was no such thing as Labor Day parade in Nigeria when I was there. Now they're copying. They're copying Big Brother and every other TV show you can imagine and doing over there, which is out of control.
Mhm.
When I hear what you just said, they copy Housewives of Atlanta. Now,
Oh man,
it's
I'm like
So
I'm
I'll
it,
shocked.
be
it,
honest with you, both of you guys. Like, I'm kind of glad the way my culture is. I don't have an archery. Like, I have to go to him and get permission. Fuck that shit. You guys can keep it. That's some bullshit in my fucking opinion. No offense, David,
Mhm.
but because I wouldn't deal with it. And the way my personality is, I'm like, I don't care if you're the king or a goddamn fucking janitor.
But
If
you said, but you say, but you say you're proud of the culture though. Why
yeah,
wouldn't you
I
do
am.
that? I'm just asking,
But like I said, I didn't grow up with that, Paul. So I can't say I was proud of that because
no,
that's
but
not
you
part of my
said no.
culture.
You say today that you're a proud Greek. I'm saying then, what are you defining that pride based on?
mm,
Is it based on you wanting to preserve it? Is it based on that you want to propagate it? Or is it simply based on you just enjoy the history of it?
mm,
But how do you move? How do you move in those spaces? And that's for David also. I could ask you that same question. Like I said, a lot of these kids, millennial, younger millennial and Gen Zers, if the culture the culture is going to be gone in 20 years. All of it. Except for those small pockets, like you said earlier, those elite classes where again you're going to have schools, you have controls over schools and gatherings, and in those things, it's going to
no,
exist in
it's not. It's
pockets.
not the school alone. They got territory. That's what I was mentioning.
Yeah,
Schools
but
not
that's
one
how
thing.
culture is defined anyway. Like I said at the beginning of the show, culture is defined by borders, sometimes physical borders, experiences, language, and we already know a lot of that language stuff's going to be gone. Like I said, do your kids speak? So but do they speak? Is like so again, it's already peeling. You can try to hang on to a lot of it if you want to, but it's
I can
all going to be
no,
gone.
I can
Even
I can keep it within myself.
my man Anton, he's saying his kids are trying to learn French and Creole and whatnot, but what about their kids? I mean, again, it's so again, even the idea, and this is where for the individual, so like someone like me who had, again, I had to be brought into a culture. Again, my culture for the most part comes from two places: Pan-African thought process That was in the 80s when I was
Mhm.
in college in the 90s. Free South Africa, my brothers, and Dap Up, and boom, boom, boom. 100 Black Men. All so that was given to me. Like I embraced that. I came in from Highland Park High School. I was what you call an Oreo. Black on the outside, white on the inside. That's what they call us. Because I was like, hey,
Don't
dude,
act.
and
Don't act,
dude,
Potter.
where's the
Don't
party, dude?
act.
And I was all of that. So again, but when I came into college, and I had all those professors teaching Black, it was like the show That Different World, right? Remember Different World was on? It was like that. I mean, you were indoctrinated into a way of thinking, into a way of being, how you acted, the fraternities, the sororities, the Divine Nines, all that. So that's one. And the second one was the church, the Black church. I didn't grow up in the Black church. So again, that gave you another cultural surrounded. But even then, there's still a part of me though I'm still my individual self, because there's certain things I don't rock with. Even like in my church, there's certain things I don't do. I don't rock with. I don't broadcast it. I don't try to be rebellious with it. But if you ask me what I believe and whatnot, I may not co-sign on how certain things are done. Same thing with Pan-Africanism or Black causes. Yes, I'm pro-Black, but I don't vibe with everything, though.
And that's a good question. I would say this. For someone who grew up in the African church, I didn't grow up in the Black church, pure African,
Yeah.
because they kept their culture within the environment and everything. But as I was growing, I thank God for giving me that person that will allow me to question and understand everything I'm seeing. And for what I experienced, there's so much that need to be taught, so much need to be learned that when you don't have all the information, it kind of leave you with emptiness whereby you trying to find out what it's missing, what it's lacking. Now, if I say I never came back to the US and I decided to stay there longer, what would I have become? That is a huge question.
Yeah, I was gonna follow both of you guys. Well, like I said, Pete, even though you live both, if I'm saying if you were totally, let's say if you went to when you moved to Greece, you stayed there, would you be a different person than if you had you come back to it? Or David, when you moved there and you stayed there, what type of person would you be? What would your lifestyle be? Would you be married to? I would think you'd probably be married to, in your case, David, a Nigerian woman. I would think, Pete, you'd be married to a Greek woman in that circumstance.
So the short version, yes, my life would be completely different. I probably wouldn't be this target on my back growing up either as much. It would be some target, but not as major like I have now.
Mhm.
But all serious aside, yeah, you're probably right. I'll probably be married by now with a Greek woman. I'll probably be,
You probably have 3 or 4 little Panagiotis Juniors running around.
yeah,
Make it
think about it.
5.
5.
Or 15. Who never knows?
No, you don't have families that, but you told me earlier. You don't have, what's the biggest family size in Greece? 3? That's like typically in Greece.
Typically,
You don't have
3.
Yeah, you don't have 10, 8, 10, 12 kids.
Actually, no. Like my buddy Alex, he's having his 6th kid recently right now.
But I'm saying, but that's not the norm. That's not the norm.
No.
Because again, it's like it's cost and what it's not. Yeah.
But whatever. The point is, like, yeah, my life would have been completely different because I would be in a different, probably in a different line of work. I'll probably be, a different lifestyle. I'll probably still
15
like the
kids
same
with all
habits.
little beards. Yeah, you'd be popping those little Panagiotis out over there, man. You'd have 15. Shout out to
Well, she got jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'll be honest. If it's me, would I got married? Yes, would I got married to a Nigerian woman. I wouldn't be blocked from certain things that I could have access to. Would things would have been different? Maybe so. Maybe I could have a huge acre of land. I don't know. But there's a lot of things that is tied down to my family bloodline. I could have access to if I did.
Right. And
I would,
especially in your case, what are you willing to give up? So again, it's the theme of the show. For those who are coming in late, so again, shout out to Catalia. Hard loss today with the Steelers, but again, glad that you showed up here. And again, I think you're of a Puerto Rican background, so again, you might be able to answer this question as well. If you really want to be part of that culture, You're going to have to give up some things.
Mm.
Your independent streak that go against the grain, again, especially in your area where there's certain social circles that you have to navigate in. Is it would that be worth it for a lot of people who are pondering this question? Do I stick with the culture that I'm in? And again, this may not apply to a lot of Americans because again, American culture is like all over the place. I don't know if you can even say, I mean, American culture is based on this idea of rugged individualism or nuclear, the whole idea of nuclear families, not villages, not communities. I mean, the American dream is 2 kids in a house and a picket fence and whatnot. That's what's been beat into us for 200 years. The idea of communities, again, the people who are the immigrants coming in, they're bringing that part with them and trying to maintain that here. And they're trying to hold on to what they got. But what are you willing to give up if you want to be? So again, if you could say it's a fallacy, it's almost a Faustian deal. Give up your individuality so you can have money and wealth and status and access in that community, or is you being an individual, is that more important to you? Those are questions that for a lot of immigrants or a lot of people you have to ask yourself. For an American, you can kind of be whatever it is that you want to be, as long as you can take care of yourself and your affairs or whatever. On the whole, is there racism here? Is there different areas you can operate in? If you're an African American, are there some certain things? Yeah, but for the
Now,
most part, in mass,
you put me in a hot seat for that question.
you
I'm
can be
thinking,
who you want here. But that's coming at a cost also, because again, we talk about when the African American community, the ADOS community, FBA, are we crumbling? Because we're not getting married. Less than 40% of Black women are the least to be married at 40%. It's not 24%, it's actually 41%. Samuel's got that wrong. But still, we're the lowest to get married. Marriages are not happening. Go to a family. If you're an African American, go to your next family reunion and compare it to the family reunion 30, 40 years ago. It's not the same thing. It's getting smaller and people are getting older because people aren't having families. And
I'll be honest with you.
so
You
so everybody is affected by this individuality for what the so-called freedom that it gives you to move around and have your being and travel and explore and all that. Is it going to cost you something at the end of the day? And the main reason I'm bringing this up is because I gotta tell you, that night, Friday night, with my wife in that function, made me just as convicted as I've always been in terms of, to me, what is most important in life. I would not trade any amount of money for my wife and my kids and my family and those closest to me who were able to be at that event. My biggest prayer for my girls right now, I don't care so much about the careers that they have. In fact, I'm almost like they're going to take care of business. We taught them early on. They're going to handle their business. But what I want for them, and this has probably come out over the last 4 years, what I want, my biggest prayer for them, for my nephew, from my nieces, the biggest thing I want for them is to have a family, so that when they turn the age that my wife turned, that love that my wife got that night and how emotional that she was at the turnout, I'm like, this is what's important. I want them to have that same experience above all else. I don't care that they travel in the world, going on these trips, and you travel over the world and having their Instagram page with all of the stuff. I don't care about that. I want them to be married. I want them to have families. And I want them to grow up in a culture that supports them. That's important to me. And so, yeah, if that means me giving up some of my if I had to give up some of my individuality for that, I'll make that trade. But for a lot of people, especially Gen Zs and younger Gen X's, it's like they trading it in because they want their freedom. But at what cost? Because at the end of the day, if I got my wife, because my daughters, they're supposed to leave and cleave. They're supposed to go away. I don't care about my daughters to the extent go start your own families and your own destiny in life. Go ahead. You already got my DNA. That's all I can give you. My DNA and my wisdom. That's all I got. Go do you. But all I want is my wife and my dog who's right here. And I'm good. Life has gotten a lot simpler for me over the last few years. And so if culture is going to allow you to have that, all those trips, all that travel, all those excursions, all those things you do, you can't take that with you. So again, when we're coming up towards the end of the show,
Let me answer that question because
what are you choosing, man?
I wouldn't mind sacrificing my individuality because for one, what I learned about my culture those 7 years, you're part of a community that surpassed an age you can ever think of. That is one. That culture had a hierarchy, it had a system in place that went to the test of time. And number one key factor that they always have been about family. The only shit I did not like about it was, I'm not gonna lie, this went on before I even turned 18, which is funny. Because Wally went to the same team we team today, and I'm throwing him on the bus too, but we both in the same boat. In our culture, family is key. It got to a point when the son get to a certain age, the mom is always pestering them about marrying somebody else's daughter. That was the thing I never know I was like. You know what it's like when you turn 18, 19, and all of a sudden your mom say, "What you think about this girl? What you think about this girl? What you think about this
Mm-hmm.
girl?" And to me, it's almost like, are you selling me off, or am- or this some kind of game show? Because that's normal in my culture. That's normal in Wally culture because they don't believe in having the adult male child not being married to a certain age. So you can best believe when you saw that internet anymore was she alone, when you act the average age people get married, they wasn't playing around.
Yeah. In fact, the mom said she said it was about 22, 23. So the girls they all should be married now. But
Mm-hmm.
no one's getting married.
That if I was in Nigeria, now based on my tribe, I may have been married, but it depends how many wife would I have.
Dang.
That's the question.
How many? Not just you get married. How many? Jeez.
Because when you're part of a Yoruba tribe and you go back in history, it's known that men having more than one wife is a normal thing to them. Especially you have a huge acre of land they're using for farming. They believe in let the farm be within their family, so they'll give birth to a lot of kids to work on the farm to keep the wealth within. That's the thing. But in present time, it'll still be different. So if you're a person who created a huge business, you gotta have your kids run the business in multiple areas within the business.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example is Lawrence Shitomoto. It's run by the late man third son, who had a knack for business. But every other child worked in that particular business, which is a very big deal. So I would rather sacrifice my individuality to be part of something much bigger than me,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there is a level of protection, knowing that it's not just about me anymore. It's something much bigger than me. My household is protected because when you part of that particular community,
Yeah.
they don't let outsider come and
Right.
invade your
Right.
private.
Right.
That is not even happening.
Right.
Because if you live in a particular village, and they like, hey, what are you doing here? Like that type of thing is big. So I rather be part of something bigger than me than tell me, oh, it's all about me, me, me. That's not gonna work for me. It's not. Plus, like I said, resource. There's a lot of tribes across Africa that are tied to their resource and their land and their heritage, and it's like there's so much mixed with it. And then the taboo. When you try and take a particular tribe from their land, you're inflicting a curse on your lineage. And spiritualism over there is a huge, huge big deal. For Blackton, polygamy is what? It's
Says
a usual life.
polygamy is usual life in the list of cultures, even in parts of Europe. So yeah, I mean that's certain. Like you said, you know, the guy has 16 wives or what have you. I mean that is, you know, in
But
some cultures that is not only permitted, but it is, you know,
I
but
will tell you
again, with
this. I'd
with
rather be part of
modern
something big.
thought,
What I'm trying to tell you, I want to be part of something bigger than me because when you spread out the gauntlet, and I'm thinking about it long and hard, I'm like, you know what? If I can change time, I would have stay back there and be part of something much bigger and build something from that.
mhm,
Because my tribe stretch beyond Nigeria. If we're gonna be technical about it, when they say Ghana is the cousin to Nigeria, there's a history behind that.
mhm.
So I would like to explore that history and find out how deep that thing is.
Gotcha, gotcha. Pete, yeah, we're certainly in the closing thoughts of the show. Hey, my man, time. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday on the sports show. Got a lot to chew up, especially my man in Cleveland got his first win today. So, but I appreciate you coming in. Black Men Unfiltered. Stay blessed and balanced. Appreciate you being here. Absolutely. So again, we'll chop that up on Wednesday. I look forward to seeing you there. But I appreciate you stopping on through, brother. But Pete, you know, as we close out, wind down the show, given everything that's been talked about tonight,
I got a lot to think about.
you got Are you going to be Peter or are you going to be Poniotis? Who are you going to be?
I'm still going to be the Spartan. That's not going
You
to
got to
change.
shoot. No, see, I'm giving you a choice.
So there's a lot to think about because we talked about a lot today. Like, do I give up my background? Like, look, here's a great example really fast. Prince Philip. He's actually Greek. He was a cousin of King Constantino III.
Yes.
He gave up his Greek heritage to marry Queen Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Technically, his kids are half Greek, but they don't recognize that.
Yeah.
So do I want to get to that point? I don't know. To be honest with you guys, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's a lot to think about.
And I think what happens, like I said, I think it happened with me to an extent. Again, the older you get, right? You just think of things different. When you're in your 20s, your 30s, your teens or whatever, it's like, yeah, you want everything. But again, when you get older, and like I said, that night, my wife, I mean, she was undone.
Ooh.
And I was, as I said, it was a surprise party. I mean, we kept the secret for weeks, and so when we got there, what's that?
I was supposed to be able to keep everybody's mouth shut.
Yeah. Like I said, my wife, she was with a friend, or someone came that night. She was with that day. They go for daily walks, so they were talking like, on the walk in the afternoon, not knowing that she was going to be at the party. So again, everybody did a great job of keeping everything hush hush, but it was just overwhelming. And you were just surrounded by your friends, your family, and your children. And that was like, for me, that's like, yes, that's it. So it's not like I said, because of who I am as an African American. Again, I'll go back to the slides. This is me, right? So again, David, I'm still claiming my 24%, but I'm gonna have to split it up because I don't know how much of that is Yoruba. Maybe half of it's Yoruba and half is Igbo, whatever. I don't know.
Let figure out. You're 24% Nigerian plus 3% of North Central Nigeria plus 2% of North Nigeria. That's more
and
like
you also said
27.
Benin. Benin used to be part of that, right?
Benin, it's part of the kingdom.
Okay,
That's
so
so add that one. You more Nigerian than anyone I can think of because Benin
right. So
is part of
I'm coming.
you
See.
more the Yoruba tribe.
See, I'm pulling my lip down. I want my cut. But that being said, this is as great as it is, and it's interesting and whatnot. It's something I can share with my kids or whatever. For me, there's a compromise, and the compromise is family. You know, so I don't know what my culture can move and change just as music changes and whatnot. Culture things I can kind of take and leave. But my individuality, though, I'm not giving that up for. I'm saying I will willing to give that up for the sake of my family because I
I,
got more. I became a better person because of my family, because of my wife, because of my kids. It made me grow up to be a husband, to be a father, to be a provider, to be a protector, all those things. And
I would say
so,
this. I would say that to you.
yeah.
You and your wife to Judith, whenever you got the chance to, take a trip to Ghana, see it for yourself.
hmm No, several of my friends who've been there. Yeah, so that's definitely on the bucket
Just
list.
see it for yourself and then
Yep.
spend for at least 2 weeks. Then when you come back and you think things through, tell me about the experience that you face over there because it's easy to say, oh, this not I'm being honest with you. Shout out to the security boss. She is stuck into the South African culture. She don't want to leave.
hmm
If you follow her content by now,
Yeah.
she is loving it over there, and people are reacting to her content when she made that particular move. I'm just telling you, you take that trip with you and your wife. Let it be for 2 weeks and just experience what you experienced. And when you come back, I'm not sure it will take you a day or two to express your experience, but I promise you, it will start making you think about a lot of things.
Oh, for sure. No question. Definitely on the list. Definitely on the list. But listen, guys, again, great conversation. David, thank you for coming on board. You're welcome anytime to
I
be
know.
here. And
Anything concerning culture,
you
I
even
will
sound
come
better
in.
being on here. So I really
No,
appreciate
I had to go to a lot of cleaning and take a lot of
I got
medicine.
you. I got you. No, but you sound good tonight. But again, Pete, always a privilege sharing the stage with you. And thank you for the active chat. Had a lot of guys in the conversation tonight, and really appreciate you guys being here. Again, stay tuned. Certainly on the Black Man Unfiltered Network again Monday with our Payne's show. You know, he comes on at 7 p.m. The Sports Show, 101 Sports, Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll chop it up. What's going on in the world of sports, and then certainly all the activities that are going on in the Spartan HQ network. Again, building a big platform over there. Lots of shows. You're going to have content every week there. Spartan Arena on Tuesday nights. You got Next Gen Training, which me and Coach Ferg do on Thursday nights on that platform. So again, make sure you stop over there and certainly get some information there and share the content. We got a playlist over there for our Next Gen Training. If you know some young people, Gen Zs and whatnot, definitely go over there and check some of that content out as well. Watch the playlist and share it with some people. Me and Coach, we really want to have a platform where we can get and share some of our wisdom with young people. So a lot of stuff going on in these spaces. Thank you, BMU, for certainly providing us this platform. Thank you, Pete, for sharing the platform with me here. And for all you guys, any final words, Pete? You good?
This is Sparta!
That's all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. But again, for Mr. Bennett, myself, for the Spartan, for CBN Black David, this is the gray area. You guys take care. God bless. And you guys have a good night. I got to get my outro video. You guys got to give me a second here. They always move it on me, and I never have it off the top. So let me see if I can just quickly
Play my beer sound, please.
grab the. I got to find this out real quick because these
Or I'll
guys are
come.
good.
I'll have your dog for lunch.
Oh gosh.
You have what for lunch? No, I didn't hear you. Seriously.
Or I'll have your dog for lunch, like a beer.
All right, guys. Have a good evening.